Hey everyone, we are live on the You vs. You show, and I am so excited to be on again today. It is Thursday. If you're watching live on Facebook or YouTube or some of our other platforms, excited to really be on obviously the show and to help each and every one of you that are watching live or on the replay how to really win the greatest battle, and that's within yourself. And every day is a battle. No matter how good you or good your intentions are, you're going to find yourself in some situations every single day. So we want you to get the resources for you to make the right choices in the You vs. You battle. And my name is Todd Cahill. I'm the author of the best-selling book, You vs. You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win. And it is kind of an aggressive title because it's an aggressive battle that we all face, and that is the war against ourselves. But there is an incredible amount of information out there, so we want to bring specialized knowledge, not just knowledge in general, but specialized knowledge to you, and we invite some of the most incredible guests on this show that I happen to also be working with personally on a professional basis in the institute that we created earlier this year, the InsideOut Institute. So we have with us today an incredible individual who is a leader. She is a lover of people and also a lover of animals. And we're going to kind of dive into, can animals actually heal from emotional baggage? And obviously, you know, if you're a dog lover, for instance, there's a lot of dogs out there. If they're not treated well, if they have bad owners, if they're, you know, verbally or physically abused, just like a lot of us as human beings, they might be scared off and they might never be open to love. And that's really their mission in their life as dogs, is love, you know. So can a dog remove their own heart walls? So we're going to dive into all of that today. And we're also going to talk about what's called the emotion code and body code. So we have Susanna on today. She's an incredible person. She is actually originally from South Africa. So I'm excited to hear her story, her little background here. And then we're going to get into some great questions, starting with animals. So Susanna, thanks so much for being on the show today. You're good. We hear you loud and clear. You look great. So tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll dive into obviously some of the great content.
Thank you, Todd. It's my pleasure to be on today. I am from South Africa. I was actually born in Namibia when it was still Southwest Africa, and then lived on a farm for most of my life and went to boarding school throughout my entire school career. I wanted to be a veterinary surgeon after school, but unfortunately that was not to be because the college or the university only took the top 150 people. So I ended up doing sales and marketing management, which was totally different. And then I worked in IT for a long, long time, and I got the wonderful opportunity to come to the US in 1998. So that's why I'm here.
Nice, cool. And what brought you to the U.S.? What was the incredible opportunity?
It was just a job offer that I couldn't refuse. I met a couple of guys in a bar, incidentally, and they started asking what we're doing. And I said, I'm in IT, and they basically said, have you ever thought of going to the US? And I said, well, sure, not for a short term. Because I had a son, and they were like, well, what if we make you an offer? And I said, well, what if you're drunk? And they said, no. They were recruiting for the whole Y2K, the big thing that never happened. Right. And so that was the opportunity, and they offered me really good money. And I just thought that's just great opportunity to explore and go somewhere, you know, where I've always wanted to. I've never been able to travel here. And so I came over in January 98 and got my green card in 2001 and got my citizenship in 2006. So I'm actually an African American.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. Absolutely, literally. Well, tell me a little bit about your passion. You have some parrots, and parrots, if anyone knows, they actually live maybe as long as humans or even longer than humans. So I guess they're a good pet if you don't like death. You know, it's dogs only live 10, 14, 15 years. Very sad when your best friend passes away, but parrots could also be a best friend, right? And they can live for 75 or plus years. So tell me a little bit about your passion for animals, and then tell me what you've done using the emotion code. And of course, we're going to get to that a little later as far as your story goes there, but that to me, that's fascinating. So tell me a little bit, because you worked on dogs, you worked on chickens, and you also work on your parrots.
Yes, I have. Yeah, my love for animals stemmed from growing up with, on a farm. Always had a lot of pets. Always had a lot, even of the wild animals that were rescued and came to the farm. And my mom instilled the love of birds for me because she always had a Myers parrot or an African grey parrot at home. And so when I came to the US, at first I did not have any. And then I started volunteering at a parrot rescue, actually in Northbrook, Chicago.
Yeah.
And so, I pretty much got adopted by a 20 or 37-year-old parrot, as soon as she came into the but she was owned by a pet shop owner, so she had some trauma in her at the time. But she just picked me. And so from there on, by volunteering, these animals really pick you. They all can come from various situations or from various households, but they really pick their person because it is really hard for them to bond. They really bond for life as well. But because they live so long, usually these parrots have about 3 to 5 owners in their lifetime, because people get them for companions when they're elderly, and then they pass away, and then the parrot gets either going to the family who can't handle it, so there's just various situations. Also, these guys do bite. They bite really hard, some of them. And they also are loud, especially birds like cockatoos who are from Australia. They can get really loud, and people don't always think through before they get the birds. So then they end up in bad situations. And that is one of the reasons why I actually was able to use the emotion code on at least one of my birds, because she hated men. My son, anybody, she will fly across the room to attack.
So, female birds can actually hate men specifically?
Well, it's not specifically females hating men.
Okay.
In her case, by doing the emotion code, I actually found out that she was smacked by a man when she was about 3 years old, and she is now close to 30. I think she's like 29 years old already.
Okay.
And just that memory has really instilled in her that hatred. And, it's fear-based. They basically respond by attacking or flying away, like we do the fight or flight, right? So for her, the way that she would, deal with that fear and is to really fly and bite somebody.
Wow.
To get him away from her or from me, because she's kind of bonded with me anyway.
Right. So how did you use the emotion code? And obviously some people that are watching this, maybe probably all people that are watching this, might not know what the emotion code is. So if you can kind of talk about that real quick, and then how you actually implemented that on an animal.
Yes. So the emotion code is based, as Dr. Bradley Nelson's book, based on the emotion code. And it's the ability to release trapped emotions from people, children, of course, children are people too, but people and animals. And, trapped emotions are usually the cause of pretty much all physical and mental issues that we have and that we experience. So by being able to release them and doing muscle testing, it really is, it's helping everybody with their different problems that they're having. And so in this case, I was able, because it's so versatile and you can do it by proxy, you don't even have to be with the person or with the animal.
Which is crazy. Yeah, that's amazing.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And so with her, I literally just sat with her. She sat on my shoulder, and I sat with her, and I asked for permission to be proxy with her. And then I just asked questions. Is there trapped emotions that we can release? And after about the third or the fourth one, the pattern came through. So, I was testing, and then once I asked, at what age did it occur, it came back at 3 years old, every time. And so then I asked whether it has to do with a person, and it came back, yes, it was a man. And then if it was an event or, something that happened, and then I just asked, did these smack you? And obviously she might have bit him for whatever reason, because the Amazons will actually, if they have a mate, they will bite their mate to scare them to fly off, right? If they sense danger. So I think what happened is she must have bit him, and then he just like smacked her across the room, and that caused her to be super fearful of him, and that was stuck for 27 plus years.
So I can't help but think, like a human being, like you have like a little girl, let's say a daughter, like someone's daughter who's 3 years old, and she has an abusive father. Or maybe the father's not abusive. Maybe he just had a bad day and he was stressed, and she was whining or crying, and maybe got, to him. And he's like, hey, shut up, or something. Right. So how impactful can that one mistake from a father be on his daughter when she's 30, maybe going into a marriage, or maybe going into a situation where she might not even know, because she can't remember when she was 3. Right. But there's this anxiety, or there's this depression or fear, and it could even get into someone's organs. So talk to me a little bit about, because we all face that. Right. Everyone on this planet has something happen to us.
For sure. And you know what? It doesn't even take anything big. For a little child, and, obviously for a parrot then, or any animal, it could just be a loud word. It can just say something like, get away, or, it's just literally just something that gets stuck in that little person's mind, and it becomes a trapped emotion, and then it basically grows, and she or he might not even know that there's an emotion trap, but they constantly have that fear. Be careful of daddy being around, because if he's having a bad day, he's going to shout at me. So I'd rather just be a quiet mouse and back away, or I would be a people pleaser, or there would be different situations that would come up. And that's what I specifically saw in the bird, but I also saw it in, one of my dogs. He's a Rhodesian Ridgeback, and he's super sensitive, really a lovely dog, but just, he has an accident once in a while in the house, and by us just talking loud at him, he gets like totally skittish, and he just doesn't even want us to touch him. So I did the emotion code on him, and it came up that, he doesn't like being talked loud to. So it definitely affects, and like I said, it doesn't even have to be something big. It can be literally just be something, I'm busy now, or don't talk, or, we all grow up, well, I grew up with the belief of children should be seen and not heard, right? So you if you do something wrong, or if you get scared for something, you feel that, I can't say anything, so I'd rather just be quiet, and then it can even trap an emotion that way.
That's amazing. Well, to me though, it seems like it's tough. Life is tough, because it seems like we're all so sensitive. If someone's like, hey, not right now, or like that could be a trapped emotion. And I mean, so is it just, we're just really sensitive human beings? I mean, like, because I mentioned war and I mentioned battle, the battle of you versus you. And obviously in war, you can't be sensitive. You actually sometimes even have to kill someone in war. So I know life is not fair. I know life is difficult, but are we just as human beings just so sensitive, and like we can only be loved, and if we're not loved, then it causes, I mean, how does that work from your studies and all your certifications?
Yes, we are sensitive, right? I do not think that we are so sensitive that, you can't look funny at me and I'm going to have, issues or trouble emotions.
Right.
However, a lot of times we if something like that happens to us, then we build like a phobia or a fear, right? And so then, in later times, all of a sudden, this little thing become a big thing, right? And it becomes something like, oh, I was abused, and now I'm a little bit of a victim. So, I think with doing some of the training that I did, especially with Tony Robbins, who sometimes it's a tough one to crack for everybody, but even with Dr. Joe Dispenza, where you actually learn that focus, energy goes where energy goes where your focus is, and all of that kind of thing. So if you focus on whether it's the beginning or the end, right? If it's the beginning, say, of a relationship, all of a sudden you're going to have a much better attitude and much better just way of dealing with it. Whereas if you say, oh, well, this is an end, this is going to end in a divorce or something, then you're just going to give up, right? You're not really going to do anything about it. So I think where the sensitivity comes in is really where your focus is. And, then what does it mean? And then, after that, you'll just take massive action, right? So,
well, let's talk about that. So let's say, it's not even your fault though. Let's say it's just you're in a abusive relationship, or you're in a relationship that the people, the partners they're just not seeing eye to eye. They can't communicate whatsoever. And one of them just is like, or even both of them are like, you know what, I'm out. Do you think if one of them had self-awareness and just really went to the beginning of the dating process, would that maybe help, the other person maybe take their walls down? Or do they really need a therapist, or do they really need obviously a healer like you to do some intense work with them? Or does it really work? Like, what's your perspective with some of the clients that you've worked with, that maybe it is the end, but maybe one finally says, you know what, I'm just going to try my hardest to see what happens. What do you think?
I do believe that the person who is aware and who is trying to make it work will definitely broadcast a different message, right? So that person will definitely have a different attitude. He will definitely have a way of say, hey, can we try this? Can we try, do something different? Can we make it work? Is there something that we can change that will help us go through this process better, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the whole, where the emotion code and the body code is will be super helpful as well, because even if the one other partner is not that aware, maybe by being able to identify and release some of these trapped emotions, that might be helping to change that, to get rid of that block that is like, wow, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore, or get rid of the fear, because it could be also something that is stems from her past, or whichever way it goes.
Yeah.
So I think it will be able to definitely help both people in that situation. But I do believe that if one person really is aware and really want to make it work and change the whole way of the whole meaning of the problem, it can assist in making it better.
Right. Yeah. So let's say in that case, there's a trigger though, and there's just no way to communicate. So how can that, either one out of the two people, no matter what the other person's saying or pointing fingers, how can that person take their ego out of the way and not be so hurt? Because, I've been in that situation before where it's just like, you feel so like not listened to, not heard. And it's just like, just listen to me. Like, I just want to be seen, damn it. Just listen. And there's blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, you can't even get a word out. So how can that person who can't get a word out remove their ego, if you will, and just be calm in the middle of the storm? I think that's the biggest challenge with all of us, because it can be so reactive, especially when we feel like it's not our fault, we didn't do anything wrong, So where can the emotion code benefit someone in that situation?
Phew, that's a tough one. I have not had to deal with that with the emotion code. So I think that's probably a question that Emmanuel or somebody else might be able to answer a lot better.
Sure.
From my own perspective, though, if I am in that situation where I feel like I'm not heard, and I would, rather than trying to be the victim here, I would rather take that deep breath and count to 10, and if possible, even remove myself from that situation, so that I can figure out why I am feeling like that, and why do I feel that I'm not heard, because it's maybe something that I am projecting, right? And it's maybe that something that I put out there to my partner to say, I have previously not set proper boundaries. So if I can try and identify what are some of those issues and why I'm feeling like that, that might help me in the long run.
That's good. Proper boundaries. I like that. That's really good. I'm just taking notes, by the way.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Anyone that's watching this, guys, this is like free therapy sessions here. Really good stuff. So I'm going to go back to my notes here. So changing careers. This is actually a beautiful thing. It's we have COVID going on, a pandemic, and I'm pretty tired of talking about it, but it is real. People are really dying. People are really being sick from it, no matter what the conspiracy theories think. It's a real thing. And the challenge with COVID, obviously amongst the 100 challenges, is the workforce. People being laid off, people getting furloughed, and maybe they're not getting fired, but their salaries is half. And they still can't get unemployment, and even they have to take a huge salary cut. Even in the NBA and professional sports now, they're taking salary cuts. So tell me a little bit about what you had to do. I know it wasn't during COVID, but you did make a choice to join an institute during COVID. But changing careers, how you went from one spectrum to a complete opposite spectrum. You went from an IT job, corporate IT, to an energy healer. So how in the world do you go from the technical side of that to energy healing?
So that's a very interesting story, actually. So I've really, in the last 2.5 years, spent quite a lot of time on doing personal development, and I went to the complete Tony Robbins Mastery University, and then at the end of towards the end of last year, I got introduced to Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I've spent a lot of, I would say about 2.5 years of getting ready, but not pulling the trigger. Because I made money in IT. So I was ready, but I just didn't pull the trigger. And so thank God for COVID, really, because then in March, beginning of March, I worked for Expedia. And in the beginning of March, they decided to lay off 3,000 people because travel has been really down since, COVID started in November. People didn't travel. And then in, January, February, March, they had pretty bad results. So they decided to lay off people. And I believe the universe gave me a not so gentle shove and said, you know what, get on with it. Because now I was laid off, I got a severance check. So I had money, on top of my savings, but I had money to literally sit back and really decide what I wanted to do. At first it was daunting, but then I just sat and I just listened to my inner child, but also my higher self. And I just prayed on it and meditated on it. And the message came back loud and clear. What took you so long? Now is your time to take this, to start this. And I immediately decided, you know what, I'm going to do my pranic healing certification. But then I got introduced to Dr. Bradley Nelson through the movie or documentary Emotion 2.0.
Yep.
And I immediately went to the Emotion Code, the Discover Healing website. I found a practitioner online because I was like, I need to find, have this healing done for myself. And then I signed up for the certification. And so, I pretty much got my certification in the beginning of June. And now I'm working on my body code certification. And everything just felt super natural. Everything just happened the way it's supposed to happen. And I do believe in, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And I had no fear. I had no worry. Before, I would have totally been so worried about not having money, the fear of not having money, not being able to make money. I didn't have any of that. So then I knew this was right.
I'm looking at my body code session that I had done on me. So one of our practitioners did a proxy on me, and I won't read all of it because some of it's really personal. But for instance, a broadcast message that I'm sending out, and this is as of 5 hours ago, is I don't trust. I don't trust. Feeling used, taken for granted is my emotion. Emotional reverberation, rejection at age 9. Emotional reverberation, vulnerability, age 5, and it's amazing to go. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And then of course I have the affirmations that it's safe to ask for help. I am receiving support and help from others, because sometimes I don't want to, because I could just take it on myself, because I'm beyond driven, I'll just do it myself. And how many people are out there? I'll just do it myself. I can't trust anyone. And we've heard that a lot of times, don't trust anyone and be wary. And what kind of world do you want to live in when you don't trust anyone? I mean, it's just what a horrible, I mean, that's hell on earth, basically, in my opinion,
Right.
because,
Yes.
you know, no matter, you just never trust what they say. Now, I know people let us down. There's no question. But just to have this kind of documentation and information about myself, no doctor can do this. I mean, it's just, you know, they just kind of look at the symptom like that, you know, no offense to doctors, but they're just like, okay, fix this, you know, take this medication, whatever. And, but this is like how to not self-awareness and know what you do, but also now I know. So knowledge, this kind of knowledge is power. So now I can really start working on myself, even on the conscious side. Right. So that's really what Inside Out is. It's really having that self-awareness of what is happening emotionally. Why do you feel this way? What is inherited? What are the blocks? What is the entity or allergy to money, allergy to this, allergy to that, allergy to people, even men or women allergy, you know, like even your parrot had. And then you'll win the battle of you versus you. So for you, how important is it to be a part of something that's bigger than yourself, but knowing that you're going to make a massive difference in that process?
Yes, it's super important for me. For me, I've always been driven to make a difference. You know, change people's lives, but also being able to help animals because, you know, they can't help themselves. Ultimately, they are dependent on us, right? And I think that was the biggest motivator for me is because I'm such an ardent animal lover and, you know, no creature left behind, literally. That was so important for me to be able to make that difference. And through the Inside Out Institute, I mean, what better deal can you ever want? I mean, working on the conscious as well as the subconscious, right?
Yes.
You know, I don't want to say this, but it's two birds with one stone. So basically, anybody who signs up with Inside Out Institute gets so much bang for their buck. They get so much support. And I mean, the group is so amazing and it's super supportive.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, just on a personal level, and I know time is running out, but my dad is in the ER right now, and I got a picture of him real quick, and I posted it in our private group, as you probably have seen. You know, hey guys, my dad's in the ER. Can anyone help? Calling all practitioners. 2 seconds later, got a practitioner. She immediately called him. He's in the ER. I just got off the phone with him before that, and and the doctor. So he's been going to the ER many, many times, chest pains. So the doctors have no idea. For years, no idea. They just keep admitting him and whatever. But one 30-minute conversation with a practitioner today, his chest pain went away, and we figured it out that it's anxiety. So anxiety is putting him in the ER. Anxiety, and I inherited it from him, but he couldn't believe it. He's 75 years old, never had a session done on him, and he's just like he's been calling me all day in the ER, happier, calling my mom. Just like it, just so excited about like knowing what it is. It's from his anxiety of his childhood and also some of the things that are going on in his life now in his golden years, and that's what's causing the heart pains. So it's just amazing to, and it's not based on this, you know, weird foo-foo stuff. I mean, this is based on science. This is based on education. That's why we call ourselves the Institute. So for you, the last thing I want to just comment, then we'll end. Where can people find you? So what's your Facebook, your first and last name, your handle on Instagram? Just so I want people, you know, be able to know where you are on the social media platform.
Oh, yes. So my Facebook profile is Susanna Van Gruenen. My Instagram is currently Ruxnavg, which is ROUXNAVG, which is actually a nickname that my mom gave me and the first two initials of my last name. And I am on LinkedIn as well. And I do have a YouTube channel that is called Awesome-Nest.
Awesome-Nest. Okay.
Yes, and that's actually the name of my house that my sister came to visit, and as you can see, it's beautiful. Lots of woodworks. It's almost like a little cabin in the woods. But so you know, yeah, you can find me on any of those. I'm also on Twitter as Susanna VG, but I have not really been posting a lot on there.
Okay. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for being on. Obviously, our interview, the You versus You. You know, I just got to say, you know, you are so valuable, and everyone that we ever bring on is so valuable. And, you know, guys and gals who are watching this, like, you know, get this out because, you know, look, I listen to the big name podcasts and, I don't want to drop names out of respect, but the biggest names in the world, it's okay. They're okay. They're okay. How to make more money, how to profit in a bad economy. But, honestly, I'm a little biased, but this show is like amazing because we're interviewing practitioners that are certified, that know how to help guide someone in their healing process emotionally, and then also some amazing leadership coaches. So I just want to thank you for what you do, because what you do is remarkable. It's, to get all the money in the world and have nice homes and drive nice cars and make more money during COVID. What if you're emotionally a wreck? What if you have inherited fears, inherited anger, inherited, disbeliefs in yourself and all these imbalances and allergies? Like, who cares how much money you make and how great you look? I mean, it's so great to have a person like you on today. Is there any last comment you want to share with everyone before we wrap up the show?
Oh, the only thing I can say is that I'm super grateful and blessed to be part of this wonderful InsideOut Institute. It just roots me, and it really just gave me it really have given me so much already in the short time that I've been in there. So I would recommend it to everybody, and if anybody is interested, I'll definitely have them set up a call with one of your C staff, and we can get it going. But it's an amazing group of people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, you're a beautiful soul, and have a great weekend. Say hi to your parrot for me, and thank you so much for your time, and appreciate you, Susanna.
Sure thing. Thank you, Todd.
All right, we'll see everyone next week on the next show, Monday night, 7 p.m. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, take care.